Okay, today is Module 2, Lesson 8, Dividing Fractions and Mixed Numbers. For the last 7 lessons, we were really looking at what dividing fractions means. We did dividing a fraction by a whole number by a fraction by a fraction. So we looked at models. We use tape diagrams and models to understand what it means. Yesterday, we took our bridge from models, God bless you, to equations. The models helped us see why we do that keep, change, flip that you learned. You saw where it came from. So today we're going to focus on dividing fractions and mixed numbers using equations, which is to multiply by the inverse. Okay? We're going to do one example, and then we have a matching data activity for you to practice multiplying by the inverse. But all those other steps, all those other models led us to this using the equation. So now you know not just what to do, but now you know what it means. Okay, so let's take a look at the first example. Carly has 4.5 walls left to paint for all the bedrooms in her house to have the same color. However, she has used almost all of her paint and only has 5/6 of a gallon left. How much paint can she use on each wall in order to have enough paint for the remaining walls? Write what you think the equation should be now. Don't start solving it, just write what you think the equation should be. Okay, how many of you didn't do it? How many of you used 4.5 as your dividend? How many of you wrote 4.5 divided by 5/6? Raise your hand. All right. How many of you used 5/6 as your dividend divided by 4.5? All right, we're about 50-50. A little more for the second one. Well, let's think about what it means. Remember, we said to use our visualization. What is it that she has that she's splitting into other groups? Does she have 4.5 walls that she's dividing into groups? Or does she have a can of paint that she's dividing into walls? What does she have? Does she have walls that she's dividing into paint? Or does she have paint that she's separating into walls? Everybody? Paint. Right, so she has this can of paint. It's about 5/6 of the way full. It's almost full. So now she has to take a scoop and put it on that wall. She has a scoop to put on that wall. She has a scoop to put on that wall. A scoop to put on that wall. And a scoop to put on half a wall. So she has 5/6. Okay. Let's move this over. So the equation we need to solve is 5/6 divided by 4.5. So if you wrote this one, cross it out, and this should be your correct equation. So write that down in your notes. Okay. So we know that instead of using models, I can just take my dividend, 5/6, because that's what we have. I can't flip the 5/6. If I use the reciprocal of the 5/6, I go from having less than a can, and then I go to having more than a can. So I cannot use the reciprocal of that because then that magically gives her more paint. And we are not wizards. We cannot magically create another can of paint. So our dividend is what we have, and we cannot change that. So my 5, 6 is my 5, 6. What she's got, what she's got. Sorry, Carly, that's all the paint you got. So 3, 2, 1. And then I can multiply by the inverse. What is the inverse of 4.5? Not 4 and 2 over 1, so what do I have to do first?
2 times 4.
Right, I'm going to take that mixed number and make it an improper fraction. So using the steps that you just told me, it would be 9 over 2. So write that. So step 1 is your division equation. Step 2 is still a division equation, and you're changing your mixed number to an improper fraction. So everybody should have these 2 steps down. Notice there's no where Waldo work. It's the top to bottom, lining it all up. Now we can multiply by the inverse. So now we have 5, 6 times 2 ninths. So that's your next step. To make our multiplication a little bit easier, exactly what you just said, we can cross-reduce. You don't have to cross-reduce. You may not always be able to cross-reduce. But if you can, go for it. You might have to reduce it at the end. I would rather reduce it now so that I've got smaller numbers to multiply. So I can cross-reduce. The 2 and the 6 are both divisible by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is... Who wants to stop me and ask where the 2 came from, where the 1 came from, where the 3 came from? Because dividing by 9/2 is the same thing as multiplying by 2 ninths. That's what we saw in the model yesterday. Remember, keep, change, flip? But we don't like to say keep, change, flip anymore. So that's where that came from. Good question. So now to multiply fractions, I multiply my numerators. 5 times 1 is? 3 times 9 is? Can 5/27ths be reduced anymore? Nope, so that's my quotient. That's my final answer. If your final answer is an improper fraction, you're going to make it to a mixed number. You're always going to simplify or reduce as much as you can. So let's take a look at the steps that we're going to follow today. So first you're going to write your equation. And you can write this on the bottom of your note page. Once we take our notes, then we'll get to the matching game. Write the division equation. Step 2. Change your mixed number. Suppose your dividend is a mixed number. Are you going to change your dividend to a mixed number? Yes. All mixed numbers become improper fractions. And at this step, it is still a division equation. No keeping, no changing, no flipping. It's still a division equation. Step 3, write it as a multiplication. Plus, which means to then you can cross-reduce if it's possible. And if you don't cross-reduce, that's okay. You're always worried about losing points. You would not lose points for not cross-reducing. However, it just means you would have to do more reducing in your quotient. So if possible, if you see it, if you want to, cross-reduce. So then you multiply, and then 6, reduce again, if it's possible. So those are the steps you're going to follow when using equations to divide your fractions. On your homework tonight, you don't have to draw models. On loose leaf, you'll follow these steps. Nice, neat, organized, no where's Waldo work.